Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for having Ella and I come. Ella is my viola student. We're playing viola today. I'm Rebecca, and she's been studying privately with me since sixth grade? Yeah. Sixth grade. Now she's a junior at Mamaroneck High School. So we certainly appreciate being able to come in person. This means so much to us, and we have greatly missed it because I would take many of my students to assisted living and nursing centers during the course of a year, and I can't tell you how many students would say to me afterwards, this meant so much to me. And so coming here today means so much to us. So thank you so much. We have a program for you today, and my husband Bill, who is also a musician, he's going to be our MC, and he's going to announce the program as we go along. But thank you so much for having us come. We so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, great. The first piece that they're going to play was written by the German composer Georg Philipp Telemann. He was a composer and instrumentalist, primarily self-taught. His family did not want him to become a musician. That happens often. He was born in 1681, and he became one of the most prolific composers of sacred and secular music of his time. He was a friend of the great composers Johann Sebastian Bach, and Bach's son, Carl Philipp Emanuel Bach, was actually Telemann's godson. And he was also friends with Georg Friedrich Handel. You've probably heard the Messiah, okay? And so he was friends with him. And for many years, he served as the music director of the Hamburg Collegium Musicum. Telemann died in 1767, excuse me, at the age of 86. So here's the Canon in D major by Georg Philipp Telemann. Okay, the next piece that they're going to play is called Adagio Elegis, and it was written by Ferdinand Ries. Ferdinand Ries, or actually it's pronounced Reis in German, he was born in 1784. in Bonn, Germany. And Rice was a student and friend of the great Ludwig van Beethoven, who everybody's heard of, I'm sure. For a long time, he was the copyist for Beethoven's manuscripts. And if you've ever seen one of Beethoven's manuscripts, you'll know what a hard job that was, because Beethoven had horrible writing. And it was really hard to understand what he said, but he was very impatient, and if you made a mistake, he would get very angry. So he composed a violin concerto, 9 piano concertos, 3 operas, 8 symphonies, and numerous other works, like the one you're just about to hear. He died in 1838 in Frankfurt, Germany. So here's the Adagio Elegiac. Next piece was written by a Bohemian composer. Bohemia is what we now call the Czech Republic, and he was born in Prague, Czechoslovakia. And in 1750, he was a violinist and worked in orchestras in Zurich, and also was a composer. He served as the Kapellmeister of several court orchestras, and he succeeded Johann Sebastian Bach's son, Johann Christian Bach, in Buchberg sometime in the 1790s. So here is Rondo in C major by Franz Christoph Neubauer. so the next piece is called Minuet in G major, written by the very great Ludwig van Beethoven. Beethoven was born in 1770 in Bonn, Germany. His musical talent was recognized at a very early age by his abusive father, who subjected him to rigorous discipline to create. He was hoping to create another Wunderkind like Mozart was, and exploit that. But despite this, he was encouraged by his piano teacher and obtained his first job as an organist and opera orchestra cemballist. In Vienna, Mozart studied with Haydn and Salieri, and he met Mozart only once when Beethoven was just 17 and Mozart was in his early 30s. And when Mozart heard him, he said, well, someday you're going to make a big noise in the world. So he predicted his success. Unfortunately, right after that, Beethoven had to go back to Bonn because his mother was seriously ill and died shortly afterwards, and he was the oldest, so he had to take care of the family. When he came back to Vienna about 5 years later, Mozart had already passed away, so he only saw him that one time. He received numerous commissions for his compositions. He was very popular when he first came. He became known as a giant among pianoforte players. He was instrumental in developing the idea of a piano soloist. And in 1801, Beethoven discovered that he was starting to lose his hearing, and he gradually lost his hearing. His last works, the works that he wrote just before he passed away in 1827, he could hardly hear at all. He was almost totally 100% deaf, and he only could hear his compositions inside his head. Most musicians, trained musicians, if you look at music on a piece of paper, you can hear it inside your head what it sounds like. But it's still not the same as actually physically hearing it. So it was a great loss for him, but still he was such a great composer. So here is Minuet in G major by Ludwig van Beethoven. Okay, the next piece was written by the French composer Jean-Marie Leclerc. Leclerc was a very famous Baroque violinist and composer. He was born in France in 1697. He came from a family of musicians, and he founded the French school of violin playing. In Italy, he studied both violin and dancing. He later returned to Paris and composed numerous sacred and instrumental works for the Duke of Gramont. Settling with his family in a small house at the time in what was a dangerous part of Paris, unfortunately Leclerc was murdered in 1764. The murder was never solved. A very kind of sad end to his career. But he was a wonderful violinist and a wonderful composer of music, especially for the violin and the viola. So here is Leclerc's Musette from Classical Suite Number 2. Next piece is something a little more contemporary. This was written by Erik Ost. Erik Ost was a Swedish film score composer, actor, and violinist. He was born in 1906, and he composed 4 film scores, numerous songs, and produced 2 albums of his music in his lifetime. In addition, he performed with 4 different performing groups, and he came from a very musical family with a father who was a well-known composer and violinist, and 4 siblings who were all musicians. Ost died in 1984, and in this piece, which is called Phantomen, you will hear the influence of ragtime and boogie woogie that, on his music. So here is Phantomen by Erik Ost. was written by Francois Prüm, who was a Belgian violinist and composer. He was born in 1816. He became a violin professor at the Liège Royal Conservatory in Belgium, and he performed numerous concert tours of Europe, sometimes with Franz Liszt, the very famous, considered to be probably the greatest pianist ever to have lived. Prüm died of cholera in 1849 at the age of 33, so he died quite young. This piece is called La Mélancolie. La Mélancolie. Our next piece was written by Karl Stamitz. Karl Stamitz was a German composer of Czech ancestry. He was born in 1745 into a musical family as the second generation of the famous Mannheim School. The Mannheim School in Mannheim, Germany, is where the symphony was, the form of the symphony was born in the early 1700s. So it's a very important place in terms of music history. Stamitz was taught by his father, and he became a member of the Mannheim Court Orchestra, which was considered one of the finest in Europe at the time. His compositions were extensive, including symphonies, concertos, chamber music, and operas. And because he never established himself in a permanent position, he and his family were destitute, and he died in 1801 in poverty. The piece you're going to hear is called Allegro. Allegro Moderato in G major. And here it is by Karl Stamitz. Okay, the next piece, was written by the German composer Franz Wolfart. Wolfart was born in Germany in the Romantic era. He was a violinist and teacher who was the student of the famous violinist Ferdinand David, who was concertmaster of the Leipzig Gewandhaus Orchestra back when Felix Mendelssohn was his conductor. Wolfart was most famous for violin etude books, and anyone who's learned how to play the violin has been in these Wolfart etude books. It's like the way you learn how to play. And he composed lots of etudes and solos for his students. This piece is called Prelude in G minor. Okay, we have one more piece for you. This one was written by Ignaz Pleyel. Pleyel was a student of Franz Joseph Haydn and a friend of both Mozart and Beethoven. He was born in 1757 in Austria, and he was not only a composer, but he was also a piano builder back in the time of Beethoven and Mozart. Pleyel pianos were considered really good. You know, they don't make them anymore, but they were considered extremely good back in those days. He published over 4,000 works in the course of a 40-year career, including he was the first publisher of works by Beethoven, Clementi, Haydn, Boccherini, and many other famous composers of his day. He died in Paris in 1831, and I think in Paris there's still the Salle Pleyel, which is a very famous concert hall, kind of like our Carnegie Recital Hall here in New York, where concerts are given. So here is, by Pleyel, a piece called Fantasia. And this is our last piece. It's been a pleasure to be with you today. Thank you very much.
pleasure to come and be with you today. Thank you so much for letting us share our music with you.
How do you move your fingers so fast on the beautiful. A couple of times it sounded like a wind instrument almost, because you guys were going so, it was so smooth and so, yeah,
Well,
beautiful.
the string instruments, we try to emulate the human voice with vibrato and tone quality.
Very
So-
beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Isn't it beautiful?